No. I'm on lunch break right now, so I don't have too much time. But I wanted to do a story time. It's the fall, it's the winter, it's time for cycles to end, and it just feels right. I usually try my best to avoid giving too much information about the before times. Uh, but I feel like this might help someone else out there if they're struggling the way I did. Um, so I'm just going to start with that. So it started, the idea started to do this because I am incredibly frustrated with myself not being able to work out. I should preference this. There should be a trigger warning for anybody who's very sensitive to neglect, food insecurity, spousal neglect, birthing, lunar cycles. There's a lot. Hospital visits. So, and physical ailments. So if you're sensitive to those things, probably don't watch this. But anyway, so I've been increasingly frustrated with myself because I can't work out the way I used to. I used to be able to just push myself and push myself and push myself regardless of if I'm cycling or not. But that changed after I gave birth. And so now I'm like overly cautious about what I can do and how far I can push myself, because I'm just more like a little bit PTSD on what would happen if I do push myself past my limitations. So I wrote talking points so I can stay focused and not go off on tangents. So so what ended up happening, okay, so we're done with that point. Next point. So before I gave birth, I could eat limited food and I could push myself really hard and I could just run myself ragged and bounce back and be fine. When I got pregnant, I had anemia and I was taking like 2 iron pills a day and nothing. It was not helping at all. And then after I gave birth, it got a little bit better. I was also working like 9 to 5, but like over 5, because some nights I would get off at like 9 p.m. In a high stress payroll job. And so it was probably not the best for my kid, but you know, anyway, so after I gave birth, there was a huge shift in the household because I was the main breadwinner. But I let him pay all the bills. So I would put half of my paycheck to the joint account and then he would pay all the bills with that. And then I would have a little bit for myself. But once I stopped working, he had to be the breadwinner, and that's kind of where everything went downhill. So I didn't have the energy because I was feeding my baby from my own supply that I was making myself. And then hint, hint. And so she was sucking the life out of me. And she was very clingy, so she couldn't be put down for naps. I could eat only with one hand while I was feeding her, or she was sleeping on me. She was just on me for like a whole year. Even in the bathroom, I would strap her on because she could not be without me. It was a lot of energy going to her, and so I didn't have the energy to cook for myself anymore. And so during that time, there was not a lot of food intake for me. Like was like, you need to feed me, you need to give me something, and he would casually give me maybe something every once in a while. So it wasn't the best. And my dad would bring me McDonald's, and so that would be like my only main food source for like the longest time. And then when my cycle started again, because it took about 6 to 8 months to restart cycles again, that's where it got worse. And then I started drinking coffee as well as a security guard. I started drinking coffee again, and then it just, because the borderline anemia that I've always been my whole life, mixed with the anemia you get when you're feeding your baby, and then the anemia when you're starting your cycles, and then coffee, I found out, kind of blocks the absorption of iron and calcium as well. So then it was just all this accumulative thing that happened. And then I was still pushing myself to do chores and to cook his lunch. And one day, I think I pushed myself way too hard, and I started getting tingles in my fingertips, and I tried to shake it off, and I tried to keep going, and it spread all the way up my arm, and I was like, am I having a stroke? Oh my God. So I ran to the bathroom and I took 2 aspirins, and I was like, I should be fine. And then it just continued to travel up, and then it got to my head, and then I had like a splitting headache, and then I got very light sensitive, and I got very sound sensitive, and I was like, I don't think you can go to work today. I think you need to take me to the hospital. And he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm having a stroke. You need to take me to the ER. And he was very frustrated, but he called into work, and he was like, are you sure? And I'm like, you cannot leave me alone with an under 1-year-old baby. Like, there's no way. Actually, yeah, I think she was almost 1. She was almost 1. I was like, because it happened in October. So September, October. I was like, you cannot leave me alone with this baby, because there's no way I can handle it. I don't know what's going on. You cannot leave. You need to take me to the hospital. So we went to the ER. It made it worse. Like, I felt like I needed to pee, but I also needed to vomit, and then the world was spinning, and I was just like in so much pain, and it was so much. And the ER didn't know what was going on. They gave me like 2 bags of fluids. They gave me anti-nausea medicine. They gave me morphine, and they were like, we don't know what's wrong with you. It's probably just a migraine. Go home. And then we got like a $10,000 ER bill after that. And so when we got home, I was like, look, dude, you need to start cooking your own lunch, and you need to start cleaning your own dishes, because I can't do that anymore. You have neglected your husband duties long enough. You need to step up and do some work at home, because otherwise you're going to keep getting ER bills. And so he started cooking for himself and doing some of the chores. And then I was like, and you need to feed me at least once a day. Give me a full meal at least once a day, so that we can make sure that this doesn't happen again. And it took me like a couple weeks to like actually recover and feel functional as a human being again. But I still had low food intake. There'd be days where he would just take me to Starbucks, get me a drink and a croissant, and was like, there's your meal. Or so many things would happen in the day, and then he'd be off to work, and he'd be like, oh, I forgot to feed you. I hope that's okay. And then he would leave. And so I'd be like, no, it's fine, dude. I'll figure it out. I lived off of like chips and salsa mostly, and then like it would happen every month. So every time I'd get close to my cycle, I would be like, it would start up again. The tingles would say, I'd be like, oh no, I have to lay down and turn off all the lights. And then I was like, is this a new symptom? What is this? I don't know. I stopped it, and then I would get better, and then I would drink coffee, and then I would feel worse, and I was like, it's the coffee. So I stopped drinking coffee, and that helped a little bit. The iron pills did not help at all. we had health care, but like he would not take me to the doctors, so it's not like I got blood test run at that time. Uh, so it was years of being pretty much incapacitated 3 weeks out of the month, where I just could not push myself too hard, because then I would start getting the tingles. And if I did push myself too hard, then I would be incapacitated for like hours in the fetal position, trying not to throw up, trying to just like make it through. And he would go to work and I'd be stuck with a toddler trying to so sad. I would apologize to her and be like, I'm so sorry, baby, I don't mean for this to be like this. And she would try to take care of me, and she would try to be like, it's okay, mommy, and she would be like, what can I do to help? I'm like, this is not your job. I'd feel so bad. And so I was like, this is, something's got to change. And then it improved a little bit when I had him start cooking on an iron skillet. And I was like, you need to start just cooking me meals on an iron skillet so that I could get some iron that way, since I'm not absorbing it through the iron pills. And so he did. And I was like, look, when you finish cooking, you need to clean it off with half a lemon and salt, and just scrub it off and rinse it off. And he was like, okay. But then he stopped washing it. So he would cook for me, and then he would just leave it on the countertop until the next time he cooked. And sometimes that was days later. So it would just sit there with all the grease and fat and nastiness just sitting there for days without him cleaning it. And then he would just reheat it, rinse it off, and then cook on it again. And then he had like one paper towel rag thingy with like oil he would use to try to re-oil it, but then that would sit on the counter getting all rancid for like weeks until I made him change it out. And so, surprise, surprise, I started getting sick. Every time he would feed me, I would get really nauseous, or it would not stay in. And it was just, I was getting sick every single time he would feed me. And I was like, dude, just stop. You're not helping. You're making it worse. Any nutrients I'm getting is just exiting my body right away. And then he would get mad, and he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, dude, you're not cleaning it right. And so then I slipped kind of more into like a depression, where I was sleeping all day because I'm like, what is this existence? There's a lot of other things going on too that was just like neglectful, and it was not good. And then I lost my appetite, and I didn't want to eat anything. And when I did want to eat some things that he was cooking for himself, he would scold me because I was taking all the good pieces. And I was like, I haven't eaten anything in weeks. And now that I finally have the urge to eat something, you're scolding me because I'm taking your food away. Okay, dude. And so he controlled the money. And so when we went grocery shopping, he wouldn't let me get fruit. He wouldn't let me get vegetables. He would only let me get what he wanted to get, and then he wouldn't eat it. So then, or I couldn't eat it. And so we would have all this food that I couldn't eat or didn't want to eat. And then I was still stuck eating chips and salsa or like candy because that's all that we had. And he would offer fast food, but like the fast food was like really upsetting my body. And I was like, I can't do this. And so I was losing my hair. I was getting abscess, especially around cycle time. Like I slipped into a depression. It was like really dark, and I'm like, I'm going to die. I am slowly dying, and he won't take me to the doctors, and he won't change anything. And I can't push myself to go anywhere or do anything because like I'm going to be incapacitated for hours if I do. And then I had a dream of my grandma, and I woke up resolved to just change my life around and take control. And I was like, okay. So then I started just saying, look, I'm going to buy the food I want to buy, and you can't complain about it. And so I started eating more healthier, and my health got better. But then his attitude got worse, and he was all upset, and he was all mad, and he would try to start fights in the grocery store, and he would just start trying to have fights in the house. And then he would like make fun of the way I was dressing and why I was working out. And so it was a lot. It was a lot. And then I was like, oh, this dude fucking hates me. I need to leave because like I'm repeating history here. Both of my grandmothers, paternal and maternal, died due to health reasons that their husbands ignored or downplayed or felt like they were burdens. So I was like, I can't diet in my 30s. I can't do that. I can't leave my kid with this person because there's no way she'll survive. And there's a whole lot of things with that I'm still dealing with. But anyways, so it didn't get better until I left him and I moved out and I had complete control over my food and I started taking natural supplements to help with my iron. And then my hair stopped falling out. I stopped getting cysts during my cycles. I stopped being incapacitated 3 weeks out of the month. My depression went away. Well, at least it got better. And then I could function because it was so hard because my kid wanted me to play with her all the time and I just did not have the energy to do it. But I was home all the time, so it didn't make sense. But and then I was able to have my own health care, so I was able to see the doctors more, and they're like, oh, you're low on B vitamins. You're really low on B vitamins and D vitamins. You need to fix those. So I was able to do that. And now I only get tingles whenever I'm really stressed out, and then so that feels great. But I think I'm still recovering from that PTSD of that. Because whenever I'm around my cycles, and the problem is I'm so irregular that I can't time it because I don't know when it's coming, when it's going. I'm no longer in very lengthy cycles that are lasting 2 whole months of just nonstop going. I'm taking medication now that's kind of made it more regular and not as long, but so that's that. So it's improving, but I kind of just want to work out. I just want to work out, and I just want to be able to get my body back to where it used to be athletic wise, but I can't push myself too hard. And I don't know if it's just because I'm too scared to end up incapacitated for hours, or if it's a like actual gonna happen type of thing. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to share. I did get out of that situation. I am my own person now. He's still trying to make my life hell through our kid. But, I was 19. He was 18. I thought he would grow out of it. I thought he'd grow up. And that didn't happen. It was a poor investment on my end. But I got my kid out of it. So, Look. Sometimes you make poor judgments and you just gotta live with it. So that's all. I just wanted to share that story. And if anyone else is going through that, it'll get better. Sometimes if you have any ancestors or passed on relatives that you need to just like call on and be like, please help me out of this. Please help me out. Just help me get out of this. There's always a way out. A safe way out, okay? And as bad as it was, that was still the happiest I've ever been in my life. So, like, steadily my life is, like, slowly gaining in happiness, and that is something. So when you start from nothing, below nothing, and gradually increase, you can go through a lot and be perfectly okay. But anyways, so I think my lunch break is almost over and I got to get back in. But that's the end of the story. If you have any other questions that I'm willing to share answers to, just let me know. But if you're going through a similar situation, I understand you. You'll get through it. It'll be tough, but you just gotta like pull ancestral strength and just get through it. Anyways, as long as you continue living, there's a way out. That's how I see it. All right, I'm gonna go. Bye.